Welcome back, Endgame community. It's Chris, and today I'm going to bring you some of my favorite buy low running backs as we head into week 8. And I'm going to start with Jonathan Taylor, who looks like a buy low again. And there's a couple of reasons Jonathan Taylor is now a buy low. Number one, yes, he had 15 PPR fantasy points, but he didn't run the ball a lot or very well. He caught a bunch of dump offs. And people are getting nervous about this offense, thinking this offense cannot support Jonathan Taylor as an elite fantasy running back. And maybe it can't. We'll see. But also, they just announced that they are benching Matt Ryan for the rest of the season for Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger has thrown exactly 0 NFL passes in his life. This is not a good situation for the Colts. And people are going to look at that, and they're going to look at what Jonathan Taylor hasn't done this year, and they're going to panic, and they're going to think it's time to cut bait. And that's why now is the perfect time to go out and trade for Jonathan Taylor. Because if you think about it, what the Colts are probably going to do is try to hide Sam Ehlinger as much as they can and run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. They're not going to be a team that throws it 40, 50, 60 times like they did with Matt Ryan. Now, granted, they may not move the ball as much. He may not have as much touchdown upside, but that's already baked into his trade cost. This is all this panic and all this, devaluing is already baked into his trade cost. You don't have to go out and give up a top 5 or even a top 10 player to get Jonathan Taylor right now. And look, maybe he won't be a top 5 running back rest of the season. Maybe he won't even be a top 10 running back rest of the season. I think he will, but maybe he won't. But again, it's okay because you don't have to give up that kind of value to get Jonathan Taylor right now. All it's going to take is for one game where Jonathan Taylor goes out, runs for 100 yards, scores a touchdown, and the buy low window will be slammed shut. And it could be this week because, again, with Ehlinger, you got to think they're going to lean on Jonathan Taylor as much as they possibly can. So this is it. This is probably your last chance. Go try to get Jonathan Taylor. Another running back whose buy low window I thought had slammed shut is DeAndre Swift. But guess what? Week 7 opened up the DeAndre Swift buy low window again because people are panicking on DeAndre Swift. Because what happened to week 7? Nothing happened in week 7 because DeAndre Swift did not play. Everybody expected him to be back after the bye week, healthy, ready to go, ready to help lead him to fantasy glory. And instead, he was inactive. He was not activated, and Dan Campbell said he's just not healthy enough to go. This is a guy who has battled injury his entire career, missing games, always banged up. People are freaking out that he's injury prone, that he is glass, and that he's going to just keep getting hurt over and over and over. And look, maybe he will. That's the risk you take when you go trade for a guy like DeAndre Swift. But the upside for DeAndre Swift when he's healthy is top 5 running back. And unlike Jonathan Taylor, who has a lot of uncertainty with his situation right now, we know the situation in Detroit. It's the same. He's going to get dump offs. He's going to have opportunity. He's behind a good offensive line. We know what we're getting with DeAndre Swift when he is healthy, and that is a top 5 upside type running back. So this is a great chance, one more chance, hopefully, to go buy low on him, assuming he's back in week 8. But go try to do it now while whoever has DeAndre Swift in your league is panicking, is worrying that this guy will never be back. And when he does, he'll just get hurt again. Go get DeAndre Swift right now while his value is probably the lowest it has been since his rookie year. Now let's get a little deeper to some guys who don't quite have the name value of the first two, but have great fantasy value and won't take much to get. And let's start with Tony Pollard. Look, it's obvious if you've watched any Cowboys games this year that Ezekiel Elliott is a shell of his former self. He has no burst. He has no explosion. He's just a plotter who, plods forward and gets positive yardage and scores touchdowns, while Tony Pollard has tons of burst and tons of explosion. Tony Pollard ripping off big runs, big receptions, making things happen, setting up Ezekiel Elliott for his little 1-yard touchdown plunges. Now that's not good for Tony Pollard because Zeke's still dominating this backfield in touches, which is frustrating. It's good if you want to trade for Tony Pollard because nobody's going to ask for a whole lot right now to give up Tony Pollard. And there's 2 things you got to like about Tony Pollard that could potentially turn him into a huge value down the stretch. Number 1, there's always a chance Zeke gets hurt. We did see him get a little banged up in this game. He was banged up last year. He's getting up there. He's got over 2,000 touches. He's getting up there in age. Nobody is immune to injury. We saw that with Derrick Henry last year. Nobody is immune to injury. And if Zeke should get hurt at some point in this season, Tony Pollard is going to become an every week must-start potential league-winning running back. But the other thing to like here is at some point, talent rises. I've talked about it with Breece Hall. Sad that he tore his ACL, but we saw the talent rise there. We've seen the talent rise with Travis Etienne. It would not surprise me if Tony Pollard doesn't carve out a bigger and bigger role as the season goes on when Dallas realizes he helps them win way more than Ezekiel Elliott does. So even if Ezekiel Elliott stays healthy, I could see Tony Pollard's role expanding as the season goes on. And right now, he's just viewed as kind of like a if you need him guy, handcuff type of running back. Will not take much at all to get him. So if you have a wide receiver who's halfway decent, just sitting on your bench, who you'll probably never start, trade him, stash Tony Pollard. You can always flex Tony Pollard and see if that upside hits this year. And if it does, you'll be happy you did it. Now, I mentioned Cordarrelle Patterson last week, and I mentioned him again this week, but this is it. Your buy low window is probably closed after this week because he is eligible to come back from IR in week 9. And we've already seen videos of him running. He was running on the field before the game. You got to think he will be activated next week when he's eligible to return. And he is coming into a backfield who needs Cordarrelle Patterson. Like, Tyler Algier isn't it. Caleb Huntley definitely isn't it. And the other thing you got to like about Cordarrelle Patterson, his situation, is Atlanta just runs the ball. It does not matter what the score is, what the game script, how much time is left in the game. They just run the ball. That's all Arthur Smith knows how to do, is run the football, which is good for Cordarrelle Patterson, and it's bad for guys like Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So go out, trade for Patterson right now. No, you won't have him this week. So don't trade for him if you need a running back this week in a must win. But if your team's, sitting fairly well, you're in a good spot, you can be without him for 1 week. This is a great time to go trade for him. Probably your last chance because like I said, next week in week 9, he's probably getting activated. So go get him now while you still can. And now I'm going to go even a little bit deeper here and talk about a couple of guys who won't take much at all to get, but have huge potential down the stretch if things break right for them. And let's start with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt has been a total bust in Cleveland. It's crazy because this is a guy who every year in Cleveland so far has been great. And then this year, they're just like really barely using him. It's been the Nick Chubb show. Maybe because, he asked for that trade. Maybe they're trying to trade him. But that's why I'm saying go trade for Kareem Hunt right now. Because a lot of people are getting to the point where they're just going to drop Kareem Hunt. He's going to be on a lot of waivers after waivers run on Tuesday here. If he's not on waivers in your league, though, he's a great trade target because you can get him, stash him on your bench, and see if he gets traded. Look, the Jets, they might have interest in Kareem Hunt. They just lost Breece Hall. They're trying to make the playoffs. They think they have a chance to be a good team, go and make a deep playoff run this year. Also, there's rumors about the Eagles. There's rumors about other teams. Will it happen? Maybe, maybe not. But it's worth the gamble because if he does go to a situation where he becomes the guy, where he becomes the lead back, we know this is a talented running back. We know he can produce at the NFL level. He doesn't have a ton of wear and tear on his body because he's never gotten that huge, 350, 400 touch workload in his career. He can still produce. So this is a guy you go out, you trade for right now, you stash him on your bench, you hold him through the trade deadline. Look, if he doesn't get moved and he's stuck in Cleveland, fine. Drop him. But if he does, you have a potential every week high upside RB2 that you got for very, very little right now because it will not take much to get Kareem Hunt right now. And then finally, is it happening for Rachaad White? Maybe, but maybe not. But look, it doesn't really matter if it's happening for him right now. You've got to be looking at the situation and thinking the opportunity is there and it could happen at some point. Because what are we seeing? Leonard Fournette, for as good as he's been in fantasy, has been terrible in real life. Absolutely terrible as a real life running back. Not even averaging 3 yards per carry outside of week 1. Barely doing anything in the passing game other than catching passes. He's not ripping off, big runs. He has no explosion. They're one of the worst teams running the ball on 3rd and short. They're one of the worst teams running the ball on 1st down. Leonard Fournette is not getting it done for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what do we see in week 7? Rachaad White had just as many touches as Leonard Fournette, and Rachaad White was much better with his touches than Leonard Fournette. And I talked about it all offseason and all early season. I think eventually Rachaad White is going to get more involved. This could be a 45%, 55% split. It could be a 50-50 split. There's even a chance that the Bucs just say, look, Rachaad White is better than Leonard Fournette right now, and we need to give him the ball more. It could happen. These things happen. Rookie running backs often start slow and come on strong at the end, unless they're like Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, generational kind of prospects. So Rachaad White is a guy who, first of all, might just be sitting on your waiver wire because he's not rostered in a lot of leagues. But if somebody in your league does have Rachaad White, go put out an offer for him. Give him, like a wide receiver 5 who's putting up decent points or something like that. Because the guy may just not even want Rachaad White. He may just think Rachaad White, what's the point of even having Rachaad White? He's just a handcuff and he only has value if Leonard Fournette gets hurt. So this is a time, go out and trade for Rachaad White because we're already starting to see him take over. Will it happen? I don't know. But if it does, if he takes over even more in week 8, there's no chance you are going to trade for Rachaad White. All right, so now you know some of my buy low running backs as we head into week 8. You need to know my buy low wide receivers. You know who to start, who to sit, who kaboom. We got you covered. Check out our week 8 playlist right here. Everything you need to win and dominate your week 8 matchup.